Not sure whether you should wildcard in Game Week 8 or not? Watch this video till the end to get that answer for yourself. Now guys, before we get into the pros and cons of the wildcard in Game Week 8 and whether you should use the chip for your team, I think there's an important update, important information in terms of fixtures that are not going through this week. Now there were confirmed 7 fixtures that will be going through in Game Week 8. There are 3 fixtures that are postponed for a later date guys, and those are Chelsea versus Liverpool, Man United versus Leeds, and Brighton versus Crystal Palace. So all these 3 fixtures, these 6 teams aren't going to play this week. So if you have a lot of FPL picks, a lot of FPL players from these teams, that's one of your reasons to wildcard in Game Week 8. Now let's talk about why you should wildcard in Game Week 8. What are the pros, what are the cons? Let's get into it. As I said earlier guys, if majority of your team is of Chelsea, United, Liverpool, Leeds and Brighton players, which is the core of your team, I think a wildcard looks pretty good in this situation. Of course, all these 6 teams aren't playing this week, plus a few of them like Chelsea, like Liverpool, Leeds, Brighton, United, all of them in fact have tougher fixtures, and I think it's kind of a decent move to move away from certain players from these teams. But again, proceed with caution guys, because the likes of Chelsea and Liverpool, they still are good. Chelsea from a defensive point of view maybe, and Liverpool are still quite attacking, they can still score goals, so make your choice carefully guys. Now the other advantage that you can get by using a wildcard in Game Week 8 is that you can target fixture swings for teams like West Ham, Newcastle and Leicester guys. So you can get defenders from Newcastle, maybe you can get the likes of Pope and Trippier. That double up combination in defense is looking quite strong. You can even target West Ham, who've had a tough and a tricky start to season so far guys, but the fixtures are now turning. There are opportunities to kind of go for their attackers. Of course, there maybe aren't a lot of options to kind of go for, but I mean, West Ham is still an option guys. You can even go for Leicester. I know it will be so weird to kind of see a lot of FPL managers, a lot of people talking about Leicester players on their wildcard, considering that they've been so bad, and I totally get the argument guys. They have been quite poor. I mean, if I had to look at one option, maybe for example from the Leicester team, it will probably be Madison. But of course, we'll talk about the team when we are talking about the wildcard structure, wildcard draft just in a bit. But I mean, you can still target these teams. These teams may also offer some value in terms of differentials as well. I know a lot of people would be targeting the common or maybe the most popular players from these teams, but again, with decent fixtures, maybe with a change in fortune for these teams guys, I mean, you could still target options here. And of course, if you are looking to change team structure guys, I think the wildcard gives you that opportunity, gives you that chance to go for 3 strikers up top. Let's say if you still have a lot of money invested in defense, you can take out that money, invest that money in midfield, make your midfield a lot more stronger, and even go for 3 strikers, which is the right plot, the right strategy to kind of go for the upcoming game weeks. Now guys, the con of this wildcard or using the wildcard in Game Week 8 is that Game Week 9 is when the international break kicks in, and maybe using the wildcard 1 week earlier, I think there could be potential injuries, there could be certain price rises, price changes you might miss and you might not be able to catch, and because of which they might not be as good as a team value that you are looking at. So that is definitely a possibility. Of course, it might not be a biggie because a lot of players might not change in value and ultimately it might not really affect you. But yes, the injury part is definitely there. There could be certain players that are returning from injury, so they might take certain players' positions in the playing 11. So all of that stuff, all of that extra information won't be available for you if you use your wildcard in Game Week 8. Also guys, you'll probably move away from Arsenal players who have a decent fixture against Brentford in Game Week 8, but then they have Spurs, Liverpool and Man City from Game Week 9 to Game Week 12 guys. So you'll probably miss out on one additional game week from the Arsenal players. That's one of the cons of using the wildcard in Game Week 8. Another slight pointer here in terms of the cons for using the wildcard in Game Week 8 is that guys, you won't be able to get any punts in your team. You won't be able to dead end your team from Game Week 8 and then maybe make some 1 week moves to kind of give you that additional differential advantage which a direct wildcard in Game Week 8 won't be able to give you. So for example, players like Salah and Trent, they don't have a fixture in Game Week 8. So the opportunity, let's say if you have with 2 free transfers, is to kind of take them out from your Game Week 8 team, get in some punts, and then possibly wildcard in Game Week 9. So this situation is not possible if you are wildcarding in Game Week 8. Now let's talk about the first wildcard draft that we have for Game Week 8 guys. In goal, you can see that we have Nick Pope. I think he's a great option to go for. Newcastle are a solid defense. I mean, they're still keeping clean sheets in spite of conceding a lot of shots. And of course, that is really helping Nick Pope in making a lot of saves as well. So he's good for save points. There are clean sheets in there as well. I think he's a great option, possibly the best option to kind of go for on a wildcard. If you're kind of saving money, I think Raya is also a decent option because he is making a lot of saves and he can possibly save you some extra buck. If you let's say probably already have a Trippier and you don't want to double up on the Newcastle defense, that's an option. In terms of a defense, guys, we've let go of Trent. First of all, because he doesn't have a fixture in Game Week 8, and also because Liverpool are conceding goals. I mean, even in the Champions League, they ended up conceding a goal. Yes, the defensive performance was a lot better, especially with Thiago coming in, guys. I think that's going to make a huge difference. And with the expectation that he'll also play in the Premier League, I think their defense is going to shore up. But I'm still not very confident of Trent. I mean, yes, we can always look at Trent as an attacker, considering that he has a lot of attacking potential. But I just feel Cancelo is in a similar price bracket. Of course, Cancelo is definitely cheaper than Trent at the moment. But Cancelo is definitely more value here. He's playing for a better defense. They are keeping clean sheets. Cancelo is also looking pretty good for attacking returns as well. We've seen that he has the potential to get you attacking returns. So I think he's a great option to go for. In case, guys, if you feel that Man City are a good defense and they will keep clean sheets, you can also double up on the Man City defense with Ruben Diaz. I know not a lot of people would be going for double ups from Chelsea, from Man City right now, considering that they are also playing in the Champions League, considering that there are chances of rotation here. But again, Diaz I think is a great option. We know that he can also score goals, odd goals from set pieces, from corners, and I think he's a decent option to go for. Then we have Trippier here, guys, who's also looked quite solid. We know that he has a great dead ball in him. I mean, he can really score some great free kicks. I think he's a great option to go for. We also have two cheap options in Emerson and Neko Williams, guys. Both of them can rotate. We can play the easier one in the easier fixture. And I think Emerson, if he's kind of nails himself for minutes in that West Ham team, I think he's a great option to look at. West Ham have really good fixtures. Even from a defensive point of view, I see some clean sheets in there, guys. And Emerson, we know that he is also an attacking option. So I think he could be a great pick in that cheaper price point. Then we also have Neko Williams, I think, who's also been pretty good. I mean, Forest, yes, they are conceding a lot of goals. They might not even keep as many clean sheets as maybe a lot of people are kind of expecting. But I think Neko Williams, with that attacking threat, he could be a great option in, again, that cheap budget defense category, guys. So I think it's a decent defense. Yes, we can also look at Perisic, for example. Let's say if you don't want to double up on the Man City defense, if you are looking at an alternate option instead of Diaz, I think Perisic is a great option. We'll always get that issue in terms of minutes, whether he's going to start games or whether he's probably going to come from the bench, play about 20-30 minutes in the Premier League. Considering that Conte is definitely preferring him in the Champions League games, guys, I still feel Perisic will start games. He has great attacking upside, so even if he plays for about 20-30 minutes, I think there's a lot of potential in there. So he's definitely one option. One more player that we've not considered here is Rhys James, guys, because he doesn't have a fixture in Game Week 8, but of course if you can manage to keep him on the bench for Game Week 8, I think the fixtures from Game Week 9 are quite decent. They're okay from a clean sheet point of view. Yes, Chelsea's defense has struggled to keep out goals, to keep clean sheets, but that might change under Potter, guys. I'm still not very sure in terms of how Chelsea will line up, how Potter will do. I still have a feeling that Potter will make Chelsea defensively very strong, and that really bodes well for clean sheet points. But we also know that Rhys James will possibly play in that right wing back position, guys, considering that Fofana is now signed for Chelsea. He's playing for Chelsea, so I think there are possibilities, higher chances of James starting in that right wing back role, and because of that I really like his potential. So if you can afford to bench him for Game Week 8, I think he's also a great option to have in your defense. Now coming to midfield, guys, and I think things get very interesting here. We don't have a Salah in this team, so if you can see, there's no Salah here. We've gone for Son as a Salah replacement. Now a lot of people might not be very happy with that decision, considering what they saw of Tottenham against Sporting, guys. Yes, they were quite poor. Yes, they were quite passive for long periods of the game, and if you're not convinced by the Son pick, guys, I still expect, or I still kind of feel that we should have that much money invested in midfield. I mean, yes, the alternate strategy here is to possibly go for somebody like a Bowen, for example, save that money and maybe upgrade one of Mitrovic or Isaac in attack, guys. But I still feel it's maybe punting a lot here because we're still not very confident in the likes of Madison, in the likes of Bowen as well, guys. So I think retaining that money, because that is always a great route to go to a KDB. I mean, if you're not convinced with Son, you can always go to a KDB in your wildcard team. You can then switch to Salah when you feel that Salah is doing well and the fixtures are really good for Liverpool. I think that's a great option. But I think that having that flexibility of rotating in that premium spot is really important for me, guys. I think that's my strategy. Of course, we might have a differential opinion about the strategy here. You might want to spread your funds a lot more and then maybe get Salah, maybe get another premium by making 2 or 3 transfers. That's absolutely fine as well. But I feel that I have the flexibility here. I want to go for that option. And if I don't like Son, I can also go for KDB. I think Martinelli in that price point is still great value. Yes, Arsenal have slightly trickier fixtures, but I think they can still score goals. Martinelli has been very involved in the Arsenal attacks, guys. A lot of the attacking play has come through Martinelli and Gabriel Jesus, and I really like him at that price point. He can definitely score goals. He can, of course, get creative as well and give us assists as well. But I think in that price point, he's a great option. Then we have Madison and Diaz. I think these are 2 very interesting options. I've seen a lot of drafts going for Madison and a Bowen. We've not gone for a Bowen here in case, again, if you feel that you don't want a Liverpool attacker, yes, they are blanking in game week 8. So you would be wondering, why the hell do we have a Liverpool attacker in this wildcard draft, guys? It's quite different from a lot of the other people here. But I still feel Diaz is decent value. I mean, Salah looked a lot better in the Champions League game against Ajax, but I still believe that Diaz is the better option to go for, guys. Yes, there could be some rotation with Jota coming in, because Jota is definitely back, guys. I mean, he's definitely fit, but I think it'll be interesting to see. I have a feeling that he's possibly going to take more minutes off Darwin Núñez rather than Luis Diaz in that Liverpool attack, guys. But again, there is still that slight risk in terms of Luis Diaz. He's definitely been the best Liverpool attacker for them this season. I think there's definitely merit in keeping him in this wildcard draft as well. Now, the Madison spot is very interesting. In case if you're not convinced with Madison, which I think a lot of people will be because Leicester have been so bad, I mean, you can of course go towards Bowen. I think Zaha from Game Week 10 is also a great option to go for, guys. I know a lot of wildcarders are kind of turned off by the possibility of Zaha, considering that he doesn't have a fixture in Game Week 8 and then he has a very tricky fixture in Game Week 9. So I think if you are looking at an option in that price point, yes, you can start with the Madison, you can possibly start with the Bowen, but if that move doesn't work out, you can always go to a Zaha, have that flexibility, and then target a player who has really good fixtures, who's also a very valuable asset, a very valuable player for his own team in terms of getting those attacking returns and helping us in FPL terms. Now, in terms of the attack, guys, we've gone for Mitrovic, Haaland and Isaac. I think Haaland kind of automatically picks himself. He's a great option. There's always a chance that he'll play about 60-70 minutes, considering that we'll be having cup games, we'll be having Champions League games as well. But I still feel he's a really good option to go for. He's also a great captaincy option for most weeks. So I think if you don't have Haaland right now, I think you should definitely get him in your wildcard team. Then the other 2 options are slightly cheaper in price, guys. We've gone for Mitrovic. Fulham have some decent fixtures, guys. Mitrovic, we've seen that Mitrovic, even playing against tougher teams, I think he's done really well. He is scoring goals. He is having a lot of confidence at the moment, guys. I think it's important to get on this confidence, guys, and get his hauls. So I think Mitrovic is a really good option to go for. We also have Isaac, guys. Newcastle, as we also know, has decent fixtures now, guys. And Isaac could be instrumental in attack. Now, one thing to watch out for here is that when will Callum Wilson return? If he returns, will Isaac have reduced minutes? Will Wilson and Isaac play together? I think that is one thing that we have to look towards, guys, and I think that could be really interesting. And in case if you don't want to go for an Isaac or maybe even a Mitrovic, which I think might not be the right call, of course you could go for a Harry Kane as well. I've seen a lot of drafts with a Harry Kane in their team as well, guys. So in case if you are looking to kind of downgrade that premium midfield spot, maybe to a Bowen, for example, maybe a Madison, maybe a Zaha, depending on which player you have or you don't have, I think you can also upgrade to a Kane. I still feel the current strategy that I have in terms of having certain price points in certain positions, I still feel that works a lot better, guys. But of course, FPL doesn't really have one way of playing the game, and you can look at it from multiple directions, have different strategies, and still do well at FPL. Now, this is the other draft that we were talking about, guys. Now, I've already kind of mentioned all these different players. So, in case if you want to retain that Chelsea defender, I mean, you can of course go for James, bench him for game week 8, and then play him for those easier fixtures, for those attacking fixtures, and he might even get you clean sheet points because Graham Potter might sort out that defense. Yes, we also have Bowen here, we have Diaz, so we have 2 8ish million midfielders, and there are a lot of options in that price category. We also have Kevin De Bruyne, so we've retained that Salah money here. And though we don't have a lot of money in the bank, but I think with certain downgrades elsewhere, I still feel we can get to a Salah in case if we have to. I'm still not very bullish on getting back Trent. Of course, we'll see in the next few games. We'll see the underlying stats and then kind of make a call, guys. As I mentioned earlier, guys, having those 8ish million midfield spots, that also gives me an opportunity to get to a Kulusevski as well. I don't think so a lot of people are considering Kulusevski. Considering that he's getting rested in the Champions League games, guys, there are high chances that he starts in the Premier League games. And I think when Spurs kind of do well, Kulusevski should be involved and should give you good FPL points. So that'll be all from my side for this video, guys. I hope I was able to help you with your wildcard setting, with your wildcard team for Game Week 8. Do let me know what players are you picking on your wildcard. First of all, are you using your wildcard chip this week? Do let me know in the comments below. Hit like if you enjoyed this video today, guys. Make sure that you subscribe to the Insanely Football YouTube channel as well for more FPL related content. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you Insaners next time.